The Dog and Deuce Show is produced by Dymar Productions in association with Studio B Productions.
Welcome to Utah's longest-running sports podcast. This is Dog and Deuce. Every week, we dive deep into the Jazz, the Utes, the Cougars, and everything in between. On this episode, we'll talk about the Utah Jazz building another win streak, Shaq trying to save face, and Tom Brady winning his seventh Super Bowl. We've got all that and a whole lot more coming your way on Dog and Deuce number 356.
From Studio B in Salt Lake City, this is Dog and Deuce. Join the conversation at doganddeuce.com or send an email to doganddeuce@gmail.com.
Thank you for listening to episode 356 of the Dog and Deuce Show. If you want to know more, and I sure hope you do, follow along with the show notes at doganddeuce.com.
You can watch this show all weekend long on your television set on K-Patter TV or Backcountry TV, or listen wherever you get your favorite podcasts. We would love to hear what you have to say. Send us an email to doganddeuce@gmail.com. I'm Dog.
I'm Deuce.
Episode 356 of Dog and Deuce. What a Super Bowl. Man, just a gripping, outstanding matchup of the century. The Clash of the Titans, just like we expected. I will say, leather-bound book right here. Our predictions are forever in stone. I actually beat you in a Super Bowl. I think so. You have only missed one time in the 10 years we're doing the show. You've only missed the Super Bowl one time, and I think I missed it with you. So I think, and when I say missed, I mean you got it wrong, and I think I got it wrong with you. This is the first time I've ever become triumphant over you in our Super Bowl picks. So I'm proud of myself.
You should be. You were right, and I was wrong, you know? I do have a question real quick. So I have a couple hats tell me, you're an avid hat wearer like me.
Yeah.
I just want to know if I'm crazy, because my wife, Kate, told me I was. So like when I get a new hat, do you go straight hat to, I mean, and it's not like I'm going out a lot right now, but in normal times, I mean, like, do you go straight hat to wearing out in public, or do you have a break-in period?
You know what? I've never really thought about it, but now that you say it, I think I do have a break-in period.
Okay, just want to make sure, because I got told that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I think it's a natural. Like I haven't, because I'll buy it and I'll be like, this looks good, and I'll get home and I'll be like, this looks like garbage. What was I thinking? And then it takes me, and I don't know if it's just the hat breaking in or me just building up my confidence and wearing it. But at some point, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I like it. Now I'll rock it. Yeah.
I just wanted clarity. I'm sorry to interrupt, and I'm not trying to steal your thunder. Let's get back into the praise for you and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I just had that conversation, and I noticed my hat was a little off, and I was like, this is why you have the break-in period, so you can make adjustments.
It's true, man. Like there have been an occasional hat here and there when it's just right straight up. I can wear it right out of the store, but that doesn't happen very often.
That is an epic feeling.
That is one of the best feelings in life. It really is.
Does this make us losers that
totally,
we even
dude.
have this sort of theory on hats?
Totally. I think most people don't wear hats as much as we do, so they don't understand the joy and the trauma of wearing them and trying to deal with it.
And when you're as ugly as me, you got to do everything you can to ensure that the face is as good. I mean, it's not ever going to be great, but at least you got to try.
Same,
right?
man. Same. Like anything to draw attention away from my face, I'm all about that. Yeah.
No question. All right. Sorry.
We have faces for podcasting. That's for sure. So yeah, Super Bowl. What were your, I mean, obviously it was not what we expected. But what were your thoughts? What were your takeaways?
Well, look, you expected it. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you called it last week and you were right on point. You know, I will say this, like Tom Brady, 7 Super Bowls, 10 appearances. I mean, that's insanity, right? I was a little sort of confused that Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid didn't make more adjustments. I mean, we discussed it last week, how the Chiefs' offensive line was an issue and one that would have to be sort of game planned around. right? Because, I mean, let's be honest, no matter who you are, even they're professional athletes, when you have a 2 or a 3 going against a 1 and a lot of really good ones in Tampa Bay's front 7, you might sort of have to make sure you don't just allow them to destroy Pat Mahomes on every single pass attempt. This is the thing that confused me. And I didn't tweet because I felt I might get myself in a little trouble with just being like really rude to people.
You're the smart one of the two of us. I'll say that because I try and talk myself down, but I can't. I just fire off the tweets.
See, I went early morning skiing, came home, slamming some wings. I'm like, all right, Chiefs score first. I'm like, all right, we got something. They come down and score. I'm thinking we're going to see a little back and forth. And I just went straight to Cerveza, man. Straight to Cerveza about second quarter. And even the missus like, you realize tomorrow's Monday? I'm like, yeah, you realize how boring this is. Like, she's like, I do. I totally understand. And I'm like, okay, well, then there you go. You got the answer. But
I look forward to this game all year long, and this is what I get. So yeah, I'm gonna start pounding the beers.
I mean, at least the Patriots and Rams, is that who it was when it was like 7-3?
Yeah, I think
at least that was a 1-score game.
Right,
it may have been boring, but at least like any play at any moment could determine the outcome, right? Like this was like waiting. Come on, Chiefs. And look, here's the thing that I don't understand. On every Chiefs play, because of the offense they run, there is a fake handoff or a handoff. Every single play. He almost always has a running back to the right or left of him. And even if it's cursory and they don't run the ball a lot, it's there. Well, here's the thing I couldn't understand, and I haven't had an answer to, and I'm not the only one to say it. But Edwards-Helaire was like, and I don't have the stats in front of me, but I did look last night. I think it was like 9 carries for 72 yards, right? And I know he had that big run at the beginning of the third quarter that gave him probably 25. So let's just say 8 carries for 50 yards. All right. That's still 6 yards a pop. If my multiplication table is right, that's good. And guess what? The play action does not help you if you only run the ball 12 times.
Yep. That's the whole point of the play action. Otherwise you're just, it's a detriment to your offense.
Right. Those front 7 never even honored it a single time.
Right.
They would just go straight for Pat Mahomes. So I was pretty confident at halftime that they were going to start to run the ball at least like once or twice a possession, like just to try to keep them somewhat honest. And they didn't. And in my estimation, while I can't definitively say the game would have been different, I think it would have been a lot closer. I think it would have allowed Patrick Mahomes to have more time in the pocket. I mean, where's the jet sweep to Hardman or Tyreek Hill? I think there was one of those. That's like a staple of the Chiefs offense. I saw one jet sweep with the fastest man in the world who can beat a horse running. Like, what are we doing? I mean, Andy Reid, I know you're smart. I know you're a genius. Eric Bieniemy, I think you should be a head coach. But what are we doing? Why are we going 7-step drop? So by the time he gets to the 7th step on his back right foot, he has Barrett or JPP or Devin White or Ndamukong Suh in his face, pile driving him to the ground. Like whatever happened to the 3-step slant or screen or whatever, anything to make the front 7 just a split second hesitant. And there was none of that.
It felt like it almost felt like Andy Reid and the coaching staff did zero preparation going into this game, especially knowing that you are hurting at the offensive line. You're down 2 tackles. Like that's a big deal in the Super Bowl. You're playing a team that fought through Drew Brees and the Saints, Aaron Rodgers, for crying out loud. Like, this is not a team that is unseasoned or just kind of lucked their way into the Super Bowl. How do you go in with that game plan? And then once you see that it's getting blown up, you are still in the game at halftime, miraculously somehow, and you don't make any adjustments. It's in stark contrast to what we saw last year with the Chiefs. And honestly, I mean, you remember all the heat that was on Andy Reid when he was in Philadelphia. Maybe this is some of the stuff they were seeing that we weren't seeing. I mean, the dude doesn't even know how to put on his mask right, which drives me crazy. That is the dude. That's disgusting. The way he wears that thing is disgusting. It looks like he's wearing a Speedo. Excuse me. It is absolutely disgusting.
I never thought of it, but that might be the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Does it not?
He's got a Speedo for his mouth.
Dude, it does.
Jock strap for his mouth. That's the best.
It does.
Place how I felt. Like I had the same feelings, but I couldn't use.
Because it's uncomfortable. Seeing that mask, it's uncomfortable.
Totally uncomfortable.
And it's like, why does it make me feel so gross seeing him wear his mask like that? Because it looks like he's wearing a Speedo on his face. Dude, he's got to have an elephant. It looks like
so funny.
Looks like he's got an elephant trunk in there, like it's ridiculous. I don't understand why no one is like, dude, you got to wear that right, man. That's not how you wear your mask. Anyway, I'm not knocking on Andy Reid for his typically he's very good at preparation. He's very good at getting his teams ready. And especially making adjustments. He's got a very talented team that will keep them in games even when they get down, which they do pretty much in every single playoff game they've ever had. But he is smart enough to make the adjustments, and his coaching staff is smart enough to make the adjustments to be able to withstand that and then come from behind and win. They didn't do that. They didn't make any adjustments. And when you are that injured at such a key position, it's just crazy to me that he just kept sending Mahomes to the Wolves, especially after seeing how it just was not working. It was not happening, and they didn't do anything to change it. And the result was a boring game, a very boring game. And we don't say that in the Super Bowl very much anymore. Even when it's kind of a low-scoring game, like you said, it's still close. And this was not one. But Tom Brady, obviously, I mean, the greatest of all time. I don't know how anyone could have denied that going into this game, but a lot of people did. But at this point, it's pretty much undeniable. Love him or hate him. And again, I'm not a Tom Brady fan. You got to respect it, and you got to respect what he's done.
Yeah, no question. I mean, something else that needs to be addressed. I mean, if you look at the stat lines of the Kansas City wide receivers, you're not going to think they underperformed, but they did. I mean, whether or not you like it, to me, really the turning point in the game was Travis Kelce's drop before halftime. I think if they get any points at that moment in time, at least there's momentum going into the locker room headed in the right way. That drop was huge. I mean, Tyreek Hill and I think it was Anderson, the running back at the goal line where they both got hit in the head. First of all, that is embarrassing when you get hit in the head by a football. Trust me,
dude, it is.
I know people who played football who've caught punts off their head, and they say there's never been anything more embarrassing in their sporting career. Whoa, not only did it happened twice in a game.
Dude, that's
you wouldn't have bet on that. I wonder if there was odds for that in Vegas. But so the wide receiving core let him down. I mean, let's be honest. Patrick Mahomes played a game for the ages. Half of his passes were with either someone around his foot or him being like vertical in the air, throwing a 35-yard pass that actually lands on the money and them missing it.
Yep.
It was a bizarre game. And I mean, honestly, from the coaching staff down to the players, with maybe the exception of Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs thought it was theirs. It felt like they didn't think they could lose,
which is crazy because you have Tom Brady, Gronkowski, Antonio Brown, a defense that's been playing out of their minds over the last couple of weeks. Like, how can you think that? Like, that's otherworld arrogance to me. But you're right, Patrick Mahomes, even like he just in a terrible game, he showcases what an unbelievable talent he is. I mean, seeing some of those passes that were incompletes, I'm like, dude, this guy is otherworldly. This dude, he is a future for sure. I mean, watching him play is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, on a hurt foot, I think he's probably going to need surgery for that. It was courageous, and he did everything he could will to him. Another thing I didn't understand, and maybe this is me, and I don't know. I don't think I'm super smart or super dumb. Why didn't they speed up the pace? A number one way to deal with a pass rush is go up speed, which the Chiefs are totally capable of. And in fact, at points in their season has been their offense. I mean, make those guys work hard, make them not be allowed to substitute, make them tired. I mean, it really felt like there was no chance because there was no willingness to make an adjustment. And I wonder if you think all the dialogue heading in, GOAT Tom Brady versus mini GOAT, Patrick Mahomes, this is the game that will define his career. I wonder if the coaching staff bought into that, because it felt like they were going to say, win or lose, we are going to make sure Patrick Mahomes has, displays his talents in a way that we just talked about. But in a loss, it makes you look stupid. That there's no other word to describe it.
It does.
I mean, I'm sorry. I think Andy Reid and the whole Chiefs coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball performed far below the level we have come to expect over their careers.
Yeah, I agree. And in all fairness to Andy Reid, I mean, his head may not have been totally in the game at this point. I mean, I genuinely feel bad for the guy. He's been through so much with his first son, that tragedy there, and then now with his other son. He was on the coaching staff, was involved in an accident, may have been drinking involved. A child is in the hospital. In his defense, I'm not sure he was all there mentally, and which is very understandable. We're kind of giving him a hard time based on the coaching decisions that were made. Rightfully so. I mean, rightfully so. But he may have had his mind elsewhere at times, which is totally understandable. But still, I mean, his other coaches should have stepped up. I mean, I don't know how you don't have a coordinator step up and say, look, we gotta make these adjustments here. We got to do this. And there are a lot of other people on that staff that could have raised a voice and made the changes here. So who knows what happened? It sucked. It was a boring game. And then we had to watch Tom Brady on the podium, not wearing a mask, with his kids. And the dude has been in, let's see, he's been in 10 Super Bowls. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
There have only been 55 Super Bowls.
20%, man.
Dude,
18% or something.
He's been in like 18 to 20% of all the Super Bowls ever. Going back to what, 68 or something like that? Like that's 67, whatever it is. That's insane. Think about that. That's insane. I mean, how can you deny that he's the greatest of all time?
Yeah, I mean, look, as far as team athlete, and I think that's an important distinction for me personally.
I agree.
I had a couple Twitter discussions where the person who I pointed that out to wouldn't respond, which I thought was lame. Because I think it is. Like, I think what Tiger Woods did in golf, in some ways, is a far more significant achievement because you don't have anyone to pick you up when you're not yourself. But as far as team athlete, I mean, you could say Bill Russell because he has 11, and I think he was pretty instrumental in all of those because he's Bill freaking Russell. But I mean, to me, it's three people really at this point as far as team athletics. And it would be Russell, Brady, and Jordan, frankly. I mean, Magic might be in there. I don't know. But the thing about football is
no LeBron. No LeBron.
Give it if he gets one this year, he'll be up there, and if he gets one next year, then the GOAT in basketball becomes a real heated debate, and Lord knows what will happen there. But as far right now as it currently stands, I mean, he has to be 10 Super Bowls in 21 years, 7 wins. I mean, it's insane. And you have to appreciate the fact of the matter. It would be one thing if he was still with the Patriots, but in this year, in the craziness that is COVID and the NFL in 2020, to go to a new team with a less of a training camp, struggling out of the gate, then rectifying all the problems that we were criticizing weeks 1 through 7, and going through the gauntlet of, like you said, Breeze, Rodgers, and who was the other one? And then Mahomes. It's insane. In my opinion, this is his best, most, special or most kind of significant confirmation that Tom Brady is the greatest football player, at least, who ever lived.
I agree.
And maybe the greatest team athlete.
It's crazy because we would still be talking about this. I mean, maybe not today, but we'd still be acknowledging Tom Brady as the greatest quarterback to ever play, probably the greatest football player to ever play. Even if Aaron Rodgers would have run for that first down or for that touchdown, like even if they didn't get to this Super Bowl and they didn't beat Patrick Mahomes, he would still be in the conversation. That's the thing that kind of has been a little perplexing because this happens every year with Brady. Like after every Super Bowl win, it's like, well, is he the greatest of all time or not? And after this game, I've heard people say, well, this is the one that tipped the scales. You know what? I respect all opinions, but that's ridiculous. Like, that's ridiculous. I don't like him either. I would love to invalidate what he's done, but I can't because he really is that good. Even without this Super Bowl, this one just, I mean, it removes all doubt for sure, but he was already the greatest before this game. He didn't need to win this Super Bowl to go down as the greatest of all time.
Yeah, it cements it and almost makes it like really impenetrable.
Yeah, it's almost like
you're going to need more than a jackhammer to get through that, and you got to play a long time. I mean, I've heard some people talking. I have had the opportunity to listen to a little sports talk radio this week, and I've had some people tell me that other people are more talented or better. And all I got to say to that is, Herm Edwards, man, you play to win the game. I don't care how talented you are. Throwing for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns and 1 interception and losing makes you Phillip Rivers. Throwing for 295, 3 touchdowns and no interceptions and winning makes you Tom Brady. So, I mean, the idea that, yes, he's the greatest. Is he the most talented ever? Probably not. I mean, Jeff George had a cannon.
How do you measure? See, to me, that's stupid. That's just, and I heard that too. And I was saying a similar thing. How do you measure that? Like, that's all you have there is a subjective eye test. That's it. Like when you measure talent, like you can look at Patrick Mahomes and say he's got more talent than Tom Brady, and that's almost objectively true. Like almost anyone would say that objectively. But when you're going down and you're saying like, he's not the most talented of all time. Like, I just don't know how you can measure that. What are the metrics by which you're measuring talent?
And right, absolutely. And that's great. But what does that prove? Right?
Right.
Like
right.
The greats, it has to be both. You know what I mean? Like the reason, in my estimation, that John Stockton gets overlooked as the greatest, in my opinion, he's the greatest point guard. We can debate Magic, this and that. Magic was more of a point forward before his time. But the reason it's not ingrained in granite is because he didn't win a title.
Right.
Or a couple titles.
Agreed.
If he has 2 titles, I don't know that debate is as frequent or as easy for people to go with Magic. Winning does matter. Is it the end all be all? No. It's sort of bugging me because all these stat dudes in the NBA are making every other sport like baseball.
Yes,
right?
I agree.
Baseball is very based on records, what you did statistically. And while rings matter, I mean, Jeter had great stats and rings, and they matter, but you could still be considered like Griffey. Griffey is one of the greatest baseball players ever. No question. 0 rings, Ken Griffey Jr. That
right.
is. If he has a couple rings, he's going up the list significantly quicker, dude. And so winning does matter. If you're only basing it on talent, ask Jeff George, ask Ryan Leaf.
Right.
Talent, potential, skill, that's all great. But if it doesn't result in wins in a win-oriented business, it's really a pointless conversation.
To a degree, I understand what they're saying. And I'll play devil's advocate a little bit because you could be like John Sally, like you luck into a ton of rings like J.R. Smith, like important to the team, but not necessarily a focal point of any single team they've ever played on, but they got a ton of rings. You know what I mean? Like, and so I understand to an extent, but I also think that, dude, we're talking about Tom Brady. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's just a way. It is just a way to invalidate what he's done. And again, as much as I would love to do that, I don't like Tom Brady. You can't deny it. Like, just at some point, like we're at a point in this country where we look at an objective truth and we're like, no, it's not real. It's not real. And there's no, like, what are you talking about? What?
Right. Like, you're like, if they're going to, like, and I hear you and I get what you're saying, and that's true. But Tom Brady, on minus the first few years in the league, is the offense, is the team. He is never he's not just coming in, and picking up a ring, like, yeah, John Sally has a boatload of rings and he was a contributor, but Tom Brady, I mean, and again, I think the proof is in the pudding this year. Patriots, not so great. Tom Brady going to a new team, granted, he has a lot of weapons. Super Bowl number 7. Right.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, like John Sally, like we can't, even Robert Ory, who I think was much more of a contributor in his team's runs to titles than John Sally. Like, it's not even fair. Tom Brady is the face of every franchise he's ever been in.
Yeah.
John Sally wasn't.
It's like saying, well, Bill Russell has more. I don't know. It's totally negating what they're trying to do. Like, it's trying to deny Jordan is the greatest. I mean, we can debate the LeBron and Jordan thing, but before LeBron, it's trying to deny Jordan is the greatest. Like, just stop it. I don't want to have this conversation anymore because you and I are not even living on the same planet.
Slow week in talk radio. We got to compare him to, he's not talented enough, but somehow he just squeaked his way to being the starting quarterback on 7 Super Bowl championship teams. But let's just be clear, he's not. I mean, people are way more talented and gifted than him.
He's been a part of 20% of the entire history of the Super Bowl. But yeah, I don't know, man. He's just not that talented. Like, give me a break.
And the other thing is, like, I feel like it doesn't really appreciate what Tom Brady is. First of all, his arm looks plenty strong to me. But secondly, the beauty of Tom Brady is that he doesn't have to be super talented. He doesn't have to be Pat Mahomes. He actually wins games through preparation and mental fortitude.
And that was the difference. Honestly, that was the biggest difference in this game was Pat Mahomes, he's won a Super Bowl. He almost got to another one the year before. Like, he's young and he's proven he can do it, but he's trying to be Superman on every play. And that's the difference is Brady's got that maturity already to know that he doesn't have to do that. Patrick Mahomes, I don't want to call him Pat because I think his mom hates that. Patrick Mahomes will get to that point. There's just no way he won't, but he's just not there yet because he's been able to just out-talent everyone so far. But at some point, he'll come to the realization that I got to play a little bit smarter. We're seeing that with Donovan Mitchell right now. That's the evolution of Donovan Mitchell's game that we've seen this year so far, is that you don't have to be Superman. You don't have to let the game come to you. Be smarter about it. Speaking of out of this world, did you see, I think this actually came out a while ago, but a good friend of the show, Jim Johns, he texted this to me. Did you see what Baron Davis, one of the most famous alien abductees of all time, Baron Davis, did you see what he said about John Stockton?
No. What did he say?
He said, and this is on a podcast. I can't remember what podcast it is, but he said, John Stockton embarrassed me, dog. John Stockton made me feel like, damn, do I know how to play basketball? Like, it's so, and then it's just, he's a pasty gangster, man. The pasty gangster. That's what he would do to people. Like Gary Payton said he was harder to guard than Michael Jordan, And that just, when you're talking about John Stockton, it made me think of that. I think that's hilarious.
It's just so weird that, like, shouldn't, if what these people are saying is true, so say I grant you that, like, sure, he's not even close to the most talented. He's the least talented quarterback in the history of the NFL, but somehow he's managed to win 7 rings. Doesn't that say something, like, super impressive about him?
I would think so.
Talking about Tom Brady, like, oh, you're the worst quarterback to ever enter the league, but you have 7 titles and beat all the more talented quarterbacks than you.
Here's the thing. Before this year, you could have made the argument, and many did, that it was Belichick. You could have made that argument. But, dude, he just comes into Tampa, a team that has been in the doldrums, has been awful. Awful. He's like, I want to bring in this guy. I want to bring in this guy. Let's do it. Let's go. And he wins a title. Like, you can't, we're done having that discussion because it's there, you can't deny it anymore.
And it just feels, look, I want to be clear. I don't agree with Tom Brady nor like him, like, and what he says very, like, ever.
Exactly.
Like, back when he lost to the Giants, I was the dude on Twitter with Irish someone, I could go back and look saying, nope, Montana still has it.
Yeah.
Sorry, he lost the Super Bowl. Montana never lost the Super Bowl. But then he just went to 5 more. So, like, I'm sorry, longevity, wins, and rings, and a lot of records. I mean, the other thing that's weird is they seem to forget, like, he has the most touchdowns in NFL passes in NFL history.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's battling Drew Brees for the most yards every week. It's like, who's going to get higher? So let's not just act like statistically his numbers aren't kosher. They're more than kosher. They're number 1 or number 2 in every major category. And number 1 and the most important one, in my estimation, rings.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree.
He's almost got 2 hands. I believe I believe he wants to replicate the Bill Russell picture. That's my belief.
I think it could be.
11 rings with the hands. Like
that one's going to be hard to do just because he's 43 already.
Man, you never. Yeah. But he's only got 3 more. He said he wants to play till 50 now.
He changed it to 50.
Yeah, he just keeps extending the deadline. He's like, until I don't get to a Super Bowl in a 3-year run, I'm going to.
You know what? Honestly, if you would have told me 10 years ago that Tom Brady would win a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, of all places, at 43 years old, I would have said, there's no way. There's just no way. So maybe he can do it. I don't know. Before we're running short on time, before we wrap up the Super Bowl stuff, anything you want to say about the, I don't know, halftime show or commercials? That's what everyone's doing. That's what they do after every Super Bowl.
Yeah, the commercials were, I mean, it didn't feel like there was a lot put into them. There were a few funny ones, but I can't remember them. And I didn't really mind the halftime show.
It was fine, yeah.
As the rest of, I thought it was pretty good. I don't know the Weeknd well. Let me be clear. I know the songs when they come on. And I was asking my daughters, like, what song? Tell me the songs, like, sing one to me. And they did it. And then when they came on, I heard them. So, like, a few of his songs are catchy and they're nice, and I'll listen to them with my daughters. But this sort of disdain for it. I thought the show was good.
What are people saying? I haven't heard this. Why are people so mad about it?
Blah, blah. Why did the Weeknd? Yeah, I mean,
you know what? Here's the deal. Every single Super Bowl halftime show, every single one, I can't think of one that didn't generate this kind of backlash.
Really?
Like, remember last year with what was it, J-Lo and Shakira or whatever, and it was like people were so offended because it was like a strip show. And then, going way back, that's just what don't watch it. Like it is what it is. It's going to be a big spectacle. It's going to be fun. They're going to have people that aren't my demographic. They're reaching for people who aren't my demographic. So they're going to get those artists, and it is what it is, man. It's a big, flashy thing.
Yeah, appreciate it for what it is. Yeah. Like, you don't have to like the music, but the show and the dancing and the putting it together, and him going from one level to another down to the field, walking through, that's cool.
I thought it was cool when he was walking through the thing with the close-up camera. Like, yeah. I was like, I've never seen that in a Super Bowl halftime show before. I like it.
Absolutely. I remember Justin Timberlake did something similar where he was under the stage. But, I mean, it's just about, forget the music. Just view it as a performance. That should be the thing, because everyone's not going to like the artist, right? I'm sure some people were like, when it was the Who, who is the Who? You know what I mean? Like, so, and I was like, I love the Who. Let's do it. But it's more about the performance they're capable of putting on. And again, especially during a pandemic,
right?
For them to be able to piece that together, and him to go from level to level to level with dancing people and the camera, like you said, underground or wherever it was. I thought it was awesome, straight up.
Yeah, I thought it was
the
cool.
Best part of the game.
It was. I mean, it was. The ads, the thing that just is always reaffirmed every year is that famous people are famous, and apparently that's enough to sell products. You just get a famous person in your commercial, and then that makes a great Super Bowl ad, I guess. I don't know. Okay, you want to move on? Let's move on. Absolutely. All right. Dude, the Jazz. I was like, I hate these late games. And I say this, I sound like a broken record. I know. I hate the late games because I was so amped after the win last night against Boston. I was so amped that I couldn't sleep, man. Like, the way Donovan just took it over towards the end, put the team on his back. And like I said, he's not doing too much. He's not afraid to pass it now. which is not something we've seen in the last couple of years. You remember Rudy Gobert, the infamous post-game comments when he said, "Pass me the damn ball," or "Pass the goddamn ball." Like that's we're past that now. He's getting to the point now where he's racking up assists. And he's looking good, and he's a hell of a passer. He's running the offense well, and when he needed to, like last night, he put the team on his back, and he got the win. And they did it without Mike Conley. Now Boston was out without Marcus Smart still with that calf. Did you see that injury to Marcus Smart when it happened?
No, I didn't see it when it happened.
It looked weird, man. Like I thought his calf had torn off of his bone or something, because you could just see they zoomed in on it and just like it twitched. And it was just really, really gross. So they were without Marcus Smart, but I think losing Conley is a bigger loss. So the fact that they're still winning, 2 games without Conley is good. This week's going to be tough though. But what are your takes? I mean, 5-game win streak, man. They're putting together another one.
Yeah, they're piecing it together. You know what my favorite part of the game was last night? And I'm not going to lie. I didn't go to bed till 3 a.m. last night. I could not sleep. I saw your tweet and I was like, I can't respond because I don't want it to be the case. And then it turned out to be the case.
I jinxed you. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, I was like, this guy, like, I feel you. But then I was like, and about 2:30, I'm like, yeah, it's legit. Like, that's real. But the thing that I found most awesome from the game last night, other than the play on the court, was that segment that TNT ran where it was Rudy and Donovan talking about how they were playing it.
I'm glad you brought that up.
That made me feel really good that the relationship is more than just we're here to win. That's like 2 buddies or 2 good teammates, like who actually are willing to listen to each other, how they can work a certain play pattern to benefit both of them. I thought that was awesome. So that gave me a smile, right? Bogdanovic seems to be back in the groove, so to speak, shooting. And I like that he's going to the rack and dunking. Like I get happy.
Dude, he's dunking so hard that every time he dunks, the net flies back up out of the hoop and sticks there. Because dude, he's got some power dunks.
And so I'm loving that. And look, 5-game winning stretch. We will find out over the next little while. And it will be based on Mike Conley's, availability. That will obviously be a factor in how we view the next few stretches. But I mean, with the Bucks, the Heat, the Sixers, the Clippers, Hornets, Lakers, Heat again, over the next 8-game stretch, we're going to find out who they are with or without Conley. I am concerned, and we hit on this last year. Look, I think you're right. Donovan is really finding out what it means to be a winner. Not a great player, a winner. I think he's on his way to being a great player, but there is a different level, and it's what we discussed with Tom Brady. You may not think he's the greatest quarterback ever as far as physical skill sets, but it's hard to say he's not the greatest winner. Which do you want to be? The greatest player with no rings, or maybe you weren't the most talented, but you're the best winner in the history of the league? Question. I think I know my answer. I think I know most professional athletes' answers, but he's learning how to be a winner. That is an important thing if you want an important concept, an important feeling to have if you want the Jazz to be successful, not just this year, but for years to come. I am slightly worried, as we've seen in the past, when Mike Conley's gone out, or other point guards, even Ricky Rubio for that fact, how much of a wear and tear physically him running the point will have on him.
Agreed.
Right? Like, these games are great since Conley's been out, and it showed he has the ability to do it, but it feels like, and it looks like, it takes more. And I think it does. It takes more energy from him, more oomph, more effort, more brain power. So I do worry that later on down the line, especially if Conley's absence becomes extended. Last year he was out for a month with a similar injury. They say it's less severe. We'll see how long it lasts. But I do worry that affecting him, in the final days of the season and maybe even to playoff time, depending on how long Conley's out. But so proud of the Jazz, the way they've bounced back from the loss to start a new winning streak and keep it going without Conley and playing as a unit. I mean, everyone seems to be on the same page. It's fun to watch.
It is. I don't remember the last time I've had this much fun watching Jazz basketball. And I love watching Jazz basketball. Even in the down years, I love watching it. I get so like every day there's not a game, I'm a little down. Like today I'm a little down because I just want to see them back on the court. What we have not seen in recent years is after a loss, it usually snowballs a little bit, and they may not lose like 5 in a row or whatever, but they'll have a little slump and they bounce back after this one, and that's good. Teams haven't been great overall, especially the Hawks one. I was a little disappointed because Trey didn't play and they had some other players out, so it wasn't quite the same. But this Boston game, that's a good one. So did you watch the Pacers game?
I didn't. I was riding for that game.
Okay.
I was enjoying a mountain.
But here's the deal, man. I needed you to watch it because you got to see how much Domantas Sabonis looks like your brother Ben. Like, exactly. That's the whole time I'm like, I hope James is watching this. I hope he's watching this.
I did circle back after you mentioned that. I see the resemblance.
It's the haircut and it's the beard.
Yeah, well, I wish he made that kind of money so I could retire.
For real.
I think I said it last week, and I'll say it again. He needed to be about, I don't know, quite a few inches taller and a better jump shot.
That's for sure.
He couldn't shoot for a lick, but I still love him.
Okay, the Jazz. So, I mean, the only games they have scheduled, they have 11 more games scheduled before the break. They haven't released the back end of the NBA schedule yet. Let me read you this. This is a buzzsaw. Let me read you who they're playing for the next 11 games. Milwaukee, Miami, Philadelphia, back-to-back with the Clippers, the Hornets, the Lakers, the Heat, the Magic, the Pelicans, and the Sixers again. So they got the Sixers twice, the Clippers twice. They got the Lakers in there. They got the Bucks. This is the stretch where we're gonna really find out what they're made of. That's all there is to it. We're gonna see if they can compete, because this has been the question for me. Is it's fun to see them, and because they've been beating good teams, which is really fun to see. They've also been beating the teams they should beat, which is something that they haven't done in the past, which is great. How do they do against the elite teams? Clippers and Lakers and Sixers. How do they do against them? This is going to be very interesting to find out, and it's going to be fun. Milwaukee's going to be looking for revenge. Let's go over the next 4. So that's Milwaukee, Miami, Philly, all at home, and then they go to LA for back-to-back against the Clippers.
Yeah, I mean, you're totally right? This game, this stretch, sure, there's a few in there that you don't really consider threats, but you never know in the NBA when you're talking the Magic. Surprisingly, the Heat are struggling after the amazing run they had last year. And then the Pelicans are sort of in limbo, right? But you're right. I mean, the Bucks, the Sixers, the Clippers, and the Lakers, those are 5 of their games, 6 of their games. Throw in the 76ers, who are in first place in the East. 6 of the next 11 games are versus teams who, realistically, based on how the Jazz have played so far this year, you could or will see in the playoffs. Obviously, only the East if you make it to the finals. So it really is sort of a measuring stick, especially after the epic run they've been on in the first half. It's a measuring stick of, can you continue? Can you continue? I mean, look, the season doesn't start, and 20-5 is epic, best record in Jazz history, but the season doesn't end today. And if you don't continue playing at a high level, all this will be for naught.
Exactly.
For all practical purposes, right? I mean, it appears as though the Jazz are aiming and gunning and want strongly to have, despite maybe a less of a home court advantage, or a definitively less of a home court advantage than in previous years, they want to be the number 1 seed. They want everyone coming through Vivint to play them. Now, if they achieve that, that could definitely change the calculation on how far of a run they can make, right? But the Jazz match up well with the Bucks for some unknown reason. I mean, and it's weird. I feel like the Bucks are bigger and more athletic at certain positions, but the Jazz just seem to have their number. With the the ones I'm really focused on are the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Sixers, right? Because I'm not sure about the Bucks. I know they're a great team, but it just feels like something's a little off.
I agree, but right now they're peaking. They've won 5 in a row too. So True. You're catching them at a hot time. And to me, that's what makes me nervous.
Well, yeah. I mean, playing any of these great teams, it's especially given the way Shaq treated us a few weeks ago. It's always nerve-wracking. I mean, he talks heat during a win, so and doesn't say much when we just crush.
Well, he tried to, and I think in the intro I said he tried to backtrack. I don't think he tried to backtrack. He tried to cover it up a little bit. It's like, I was just motivating him. You're welcome, But it's like, no, dude, you were wrong. You were wrong. You didn't watch the Jazz because they weren't on TNT. You watch the games that are on your network. That's it. And if it, or the playoffs.
Cover it up. It felt like he tried to take credit for it.
Yes.
Like I was trying to motivate him. See,
dude, that's
my motivation. Like, what, dude? I don't think Donovan Mitchell or Rudy Gobert need more motivation. I've never questioned those two players specifically.
Exactly.
Motivation.
And especially after the way the playoff run ended last year, that was motivation enough. Shaquille O'Neal, like just straight up insulting Donovan Mitchell on national TV is not like, he doesn't need that, man. You were just being an ass. There's no reason for it.
Truly. I mean, over the next 4 games, I'm excited to see. And again, I'm going to stick with my line. And I hope they keep proving me wrong. I think they're going 2-2. And I think they're going to go on a 2 game. Let's see, 2-2. I think they lose to the Bucks and the Clippers. So win versus Bucks, loss versus Heat, win 76ers, loss to Clippers. I still believe in the end you can game plan. And I know the 76ers are playing at a high level. I just want to point out, Jazz fans, how happy are you that we didn't get Tobias Harris?
And Kemba Walker.
Dodged a bullet with those two. We wanted them bad.
Instead, we got Mike Conley.
Me included. I'm gonna say it. Like, I was like, yep, we need one of those too. And you know what? Nope, we didn't. The front office, Lindsay to Justin Zanuck, have put together a good team. I'm not sure they're done yet, even for this year. But I'm going 2-2 with a loss to the Bucks and Clippers, wins over the 76ers and the Heat. We'll see, though. I mean, they could go 4-0. I'd love to see that. It just feels like there's going to be a lull here.
I know, there has to be. And this is a stretch where you would expect it to happen if it's going to happen. This is because we got some really tough teams coming up. I could see in some games where it's maybe a little iffy, but we're down. I can see not throwing in the towel, but saying, all right, let's rest it up because we do got a tough stretch coming up, and we got a lot of elite teams that we have to be ready for, and we got to prove. So we'll see what happens. I'm going with you though. I think I'm doing the same wins and losses too. Win at the Bucks, or win against the Bucks at home. Win against Miami. Lost to Philly. Lost to the Clippers. But I'll tell you what, nothing would surprise me. Them going 4-0 in this would not shock me at all. I'm still nervous. I've been a Jazz fan long enough. I'm still nervous to really dive full in. I'm just going to dip my toe in a little bit.
Yeah, and you got to wonder, I mean, and look, I'm not taking anything away from the Utah Jazz when I say this, but it feels like the Lakers are trying to get to the postseason, right? They're just trying to get there. They don't need to make a statement. They've already made enough statements. LeBron James knows we all know who he is, right? Feels like they're trying to get there. Sort of turn it on, turn it off. You've annoyed me. You're up by 10. Pelicans, all right, we're going to destroy you now. You're talking too much game. So I'm a little, there's still, if even today, if the playoffs started and it was Jazz Lakers, I would have to go with the Lakers.
Right, I agree.
But they're inching closer to where I can see that going 6 or 7 games as opposed to 5, But you're right. I mean, the next 11 games before the break, it will be fun. I want to be wrong. I don't mind. I want to be clear. I'm a person who's likes to be right when it comes to things. I don't mind being wrong. I'll keep picking them 2-2. And if they go 4-0, I'll enjoy every damn minute of it.
I love it, man. I agree 100%. This has been a lot of fun to watch. We got about 7 minutes left. Let's talk a little bit about the potential All-Star game, because they haven't pulled the trigger yet, and they're up against the clock. They got to figure out what they're going to do with this thing. Personally, what do you think? Should they go ahead with it, or should they wave it off because of COVID and just and move forward and just give these guys a break?
Yeah, I mean, in my personal opinion, first of all, it's weird that the NBA PA isn't discussing agreements they're making with the stars of the league, right? They're just sort of going out on the ledge and saying, we're doing it. Show up.
Right.
So that, first of all, that's a faux pas when you represent players, especially when star players are going to speak out about it.
Yep.
I personally look, I might be in the minority here. I enjoy the All-Star break. I think it gives people the ability to shine who might not get it. I think Donovan Mitchell is a clear example of that scenario, right? He wins the dunk contest. He's in the, what is it? The Young Stars shootout. What is that one?
The Rising Stars Challenge.
Yeah, that one. And he plays well. And so it allows him to sort of take 2 steps or maybe 4 steps where in a weekend where that would have to be a couple years steps normally. And so I like it. I love the dunk contest. I like the 3-point contest. Having said that, all of the things that these guys went through in the bubble and what they're dealing with now and the protocols and wearing masks and not being able to go out, I think any rational human would say at some point, our most precious commodity is our players.
Yeah, you would think.
Right? We want our players to be happy, so they will continue to go through these extremely difficult protocols in order to make the real season that matters actually go off. So I say give them a week. Having said that, I heard Giannis Antetokounmpo wanted to fly to Spain. There might have to be restrictions on what you can do.
Yeah, I mean, the point is, if they do give them a break and they don't have the All-Star weekend, the point is to give them a break and keep them safe. And, going to Spain for whatever reason, it's not that's endangering the league. Like, what are we doing, man? Like, this is, you would think he would know better than to want to do that. I mean, I understand he's very wealthy and he can take precautions that normal people couldn't probably, but at the same time, that's stupid. Like, you can't allow that. If you're going to give him a break, it's for safety reasons. It's for mental health reasons as well. Like, you can't have one of your stars going off to Spain or any other country. You just can't. Like, it's not the time for that right now. Maybe next year.
Yeah, with the variant looming, right? Variants looming. There would have to be, in my opinion, a sort of understanding. Like, and it's not just leaving the country. We can't be going James Harden and Sweet Lou and hitting the strip club.
Right.
It's like you go rent a beach house and chill, or to your beach house. You probably own one, and chill with your family. And you don't go out and, in my estimation, and hit restaurants. I mean, to me, the same protocols would have to be in place that are when you're on the road. Like, they can't go to restaurants right now. So that would have to be part of the agreement to have the break and not have the game. I think the NBA is sort of indicating, and I'm cautious when I say this, the reason they want to have the All-Star game is they're saying, we really don't trust you. And if we know where you are and mandate that you show up, we can at least have the most minimal amount of control of what you're doing.
And that makes sense to me. Because basically, it's this. If you don't want a bubble, then be smart. Otherwise, you got to have a bubble. And everyone hated the bubble. They hated being in it. And understandably so. I get it. But if you don't want that situation, then you got to be smart about this. Going to Spain is not being smart about this. So, I don't know. I think they should give them a week off. I do. These guys have been through a lot. I mean, I understand they're professional athletes. They're getting paid a ridiculous amount of money to play a game, and they have lots of fans and fame and all that kind of stuff. But they have been through a lot, just like everyone else has. The bubble was very taxing on everybody who was in it. And I think and the off season was shortened. I think, getting rid of preseason, getting rid of shoot arounds, that's not, it would be great for these guys to have a break. I just think they put in a lot. We've asked a lot of them. And again, I get the context that they're bazillionaires and they're athletes and that's what they're made for. But still, in any profession, you deserve some time off. And I think they deserve it.
Yeah, all those things are true, but that doesn't make them not human.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Like, you know, and yeah, they have the right. They have the ability to fly private planes and all that. Which not anyone, most Americans or humans don't. But I think they should give him an off with the understanding that it's not a free for all. And I'm sort of disappointed with how locked in Adam Silver has been and his relationship with the stars of the league. This will be an interesting dynamic where, you know, Adam Silver really hasn't come up and clashed with the guys who quote unquote matter, the LeBrons, the Kawhis, the Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, this could be a setup where we'll really sort of find Adam Silver's willingness to acquiesce to the players or his willingness to maybe be more David Stern and rule with an iron fist. It's going to be a really interesting dynamic to play out, I think.
Yeah, I think he'd be smart to not go the David Stern route. And
I would agree.
When David Stern died, I mean, everyone came out and, you know, talked about how great he was for the NBA, and he absolutely was. But he was also extremely arrogant, extremely cutting to everyone around him. And, well, I think he was corrupt, but that just goes without saying for me. But he's not the kind of guy that you really want as the face of your organization. And we saw that time and time again. He did a lot of great things for the NBA, but he was an embarrassment to the NBA at times too. So, and Adam Silver, I think, has been much better, which has been good for the league. And I think they've done great things since he's taken over. So, and they've faced challenging circumstances.
No question.
But that's going to do it for episode, what are we, 356. We are getting up there to the point where I can't even count that high anymore, of Dog and Deuce. We are on the television, on K-Patter TV and Backcountry TV. We are replayed all weekend long, so check us out there. We're also on YouTube. You can go to youtube.com/DD on sports. And you can find us there if you want to watch the HD versions of our episodes. And of course, dude, anywhere there's a podcast, you can find us. So
that's all you, dog. You're the man with the mission, the man with the plan. I'm just the guy who looks funny and says dumb things.
No, you're the brains of this operation, man. You're bringing the smart takes, except for in the Super Bowl for the first time. But
I mean, dude, I'm not gonna lie. There was like a part of me where I wanted to text you and just be like, congratulations, but I couldn't do it. I had to wait till the show because I was just so
yeah. It's tough, man. It doesn't happen very often. Even Titans fall once in a while. Even they stumble a little bit. So.
Well, it's just a continuation. You finally made it to postseason.
That's true.
Awesomeness. That's
finally
always been the one thing I've been able to hold over you. And now you closed it out and said, "No, sir."
Just couldn't go against Tom Brady. But we'll be back next week. And until then, we want to hear what you think of the show and anything else going on in the world of sports. Tell us, give us your jazz takes. I want to hear what everyone else thinks they're going to do in this tough stretch coming up. doganddeuce@gmail.com is the email address. That's it. I'm Dog.
And I'm Deuce.
We will see you next week.
Thanks for making us a part of your quarantine.